You did not come here to believe. You, my beautiful one, came here to remember. And if Pluto lives in your ninth house, that means you were born with Pluto in your ninth house. You've walked through lifetimes where belief was a weapon, where truth was colonized, dogma disguised itself as God, and your voice was silenced in the name of salvation. But you're not here to bow this time. You're here to become the temple. Hello, my beautiful ones. I'm Cindy. I'm at Simply Cindy, and this is Pluto Through the Houses. This is a soul map journey of the wound you inherited and the power you're reclaiming. So, Pluto is never subtle. It digs, and in the ninth house, it unearths belief systems built on betrayal. This is where the soul says, the truth I was taught isn't mine, but what is? And the question becomes your fire. Now, if you were born with Pluto in the ninth house, you may have grown up in a system that claimed to offer truth. Maybe like a church that said questions were sin, a school that praised obedience over originality, a culture that told you to believe before you asked why. Does that sound familiar? Maybe you sat in pews repeating words that never felt like yours, or memorized history books that erased your people, your power, your past. Maybe you were told your dreams were nonsense, that your intuition was irrational, that faith must come from fear. You might even have felt or feel echoes from lifetimes before this. Lifetimes where belief was punished or weaponized, where your sacred language was outlawed, where you were made to kneel before someone else's God. But this wound didn't stop in the past. It followed you here. Maybe as a child, you may have learned early to keep your thoughts to yourself, to hide the question that made adults uncomfortable, to play along with stories that never felt quite right. You may have felt like the outsider in classrooms, in churches, even in your own family. And later in life, perhaps you search for mentors, teachers, systems of meaning, only to find yourself betrayed once again. Led down paths that promised truth, but demanded your silence. You may have longed for something real, only to be told you were too much, too intense, too spiritual, too skeptical, too wild. So now you don't trust easily. You don't follow blindly. And maybe you don't speak the truth at all. Not because you don't have one, but because no one ever showed you it was safe to believe in your own voice. Pluto here carries a karmic echo. And the echo could be, I trusted a path that betrayed me. And so now you question everything, or worse, you doubt your own knowing. But that doubt, it's not the absence of truth. No, it's the birthplace of your real one. And that is sacred. So let's talk about the healing. And why would you want to heal Pluto in the ninth house? Because carrying the weight of other people's beliefs, lifetimes of shame, spiritual betrayal, stolen truth, all that's exhausting. And eventually it makes your soul feel so far from home. This healing isn't about erasing the past. It's about finally saying, this is my voice now. This is my truth. This is my sacred path. And we do that through the third house. So before we move on any further, let me explain. Pluto in the ninth house is going to look like this. It doesn't have to be in the same sign, right? So the sign doesn't matter right now. It's the fact that this Pluto, this symbol, if this symbol is in your ninth house, this is Pluto in the ninth house, okay? See the 9, and this is the symbol for Pluto. Now, right now, Pluto just happens to be in Aquarius, right? But if you were born with this in this house, doesn't matter the sign, then I'm talking to you, okay? So how do we heal this? What do we do with it, right? We do that through the third house, okay? So we're going to look to the third house, right? The realm of daily words, of ordinary thoughts, of lived wisdom, while the ninth house reaches outward for meaning, right? The third house roots inward. This is your inner. This is your outer to the world, right? So while you're looking for it, you must go inward. Does that make sense? This is where we reclaim what was stolen. This is where your voice, your questions, your right to name the divine on your own terms. Okay? How to heal this gently, practically, and powerfully. So let's take those words into reference. How do we heal this gently, practically, and powerfully? I'm going to give you some tips, right? But I want you to pay attention to how your body feels. So take the tips of what you feel for you, not what I'm saying to take every tip, right? You need to learn your truth, not my truth. I'm just going to give you some tools, okay? It's your truth. Okay, so number one, let's talk to yourself, your younger self. And these I've done. Okay, so let's talk to your younger self. Each morning, sit quietly and imagine yourself, your younger self, the child who was told to stay quiet, the child who was told to behave, to conform. And I want you to ask your younger self, what did you always want to say, but were never allowed to? And then I'd like for you to write it down or speak it out loud. Let it become your scripture. Okay? Number two, rewrite the sacred. Take a belief that once bound you and rewrite it into something that frees you. Let me give you an example. Let me give you some examples. Maybe I was told to fear God. And maybe that's what you're hearing. That's what you know by, right? I was told to fear God. But make that become, I now feel the divine within me. Not out of fear, but because you feel the divine within you. Okay? Rewrite that. You're not disrespecting your past. You're releasing it from distortion. Okay? There's a lot of chaotic, static stuff going on. Number three, create a daily devotion practice. Like, make it 3 minutes max. It doesn't have to be long and drawn out. Place one object on a table. Maybe you resonate with a candle or a photo or the journal or a flower or a crystal or tarot cards, whatever, right? Each day, sit before it and speak. Today, this is what you say. Today, I reclaim my truth by. That's what you go by. Today, I reclaim my truth by da 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 da. Follow it with one word or act that feels aligned. Consistency heals what chaos, excuse me, consistency heals what chaos once fractured. Okay? Number four, speak to be free. Call a friend, record yourself, talk in the mirror, talk to a tree. Speak your truth without waiting for permission or proof. You're not here to be understood by everyone. Let me say this again. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to finally understand yourself. Got it? Now, let me tell you why this works. It works because the soul walking with Pluto in the ninth house often felt displaced, exiled by belief systems, betrayed by those who claimed to know the truth. But the third house is how you rebuild spiritual trust, starting with yourself. This is the voice of the soul who no longer is afraid to be their own prophet. This is where sacredness becomes real again. Not because someone told you so, but because you can feel it in your bones when you speak it out loud. Now, if you do these practices, I'd like for you to anchor it, anchor this energy, anchor this alchemization that's going on, okay? Anchor this healing, this alignment that you're having. And you can anchor it by this affirmation. Again, everything that I'm telling you, you go by your own spiritual, energetic sense. Okay, you do what feels right for you. If it doesn't, don't do it, right? But here's the affirmation to help you anchor this daily. I want you to say, I am not broken. I was buried, and now I rise, word by word, truth by truth, into the sacred sound of my own becoming. I'll say that again. I am not broken. I was buried, and now I rise, word by word, truth by truth, into the sacred sound of my own becoming. Okay, now that we talked a little bit about, a lot about, about you being born with Pluto in the ninth house, okay? But right now, Pluto is in Aquarius. That's where it's at right now. So if you have Pluto in the ninth house that's transiting, that means that when you look to where Aquarius is in your chart, in your natal chart, if it's in the ninth, if Aquarius is the ninth house, then I'm talking to you right now. That means it's transiting your ninth house. Okay. So Pluto in Aquarius transiting through the ninth house. This started in 2024. It is going to last till 2023. I'm sorry, 2043 or 2044. Okay. So as Pluto moves, through Aquarius and your ninth house, the collective collapse of false truth become intimate. What once felt unshakable, like your religion, your philosophy, your sense of what's right, that may begin to crack. You may walk away from spiritual lineages you once swore by. You might leave behind a teacher, a movement, a way of seeing the world that no longer fits the shape of your soul. Like there's just something that tells you, no, that's not it anymore. Okay. I want you to look around. You as a ninth house transiting Pluto, you can look around and see governments are losing the illusion of authority, right? That's Pluto in Aquarius. Churches are being held accountable for centuries of abuse, right? That's Pluto in the ninth house in Aquarius. You can see academic institutions are being questioned for systemic bias and erasure, right? That's also Pluto in Aquarius. I, by the way, have this Pluto series where you can look at all of the houses and I go by what Pluto in Aquarius means for the next 20 years. Okay. But this is to give you an example of what you're seeing through your ninth house as it transits, right? You're seeing truth in media is being rewritten. It's being rewritten by AI and filters through algorithms. I mean, you're only being allowed to see what that algorithm thinks that you should be seeing, right? That's all being rewritten. Look at how science itself is splitting. between what can be proven and what can be felt, right? Also, entire belief systems are dissolving overnight, while new paradigms are rising in whisper. Not megaphones, but whispers. Okay? We are witnessing a global exodus from the temples of certainty. That, my beautiful one, is Pluto in Aquarius dissolving that stuff, bringing out to the surface what was hidden underneath. Okay? And for those with Pluto in the ninth house, this isn't just something to watch, it's something you feel in your body. It's as if every outer collapse echoes a truth you've known for lifetimes. I bet some of you have been like, I knew that. I knew it in my soul. I knew it. That's what I'm talking about, right? This system was never built for my freedom. That's probably what some of you are saying. Like, it was never built for my freedom. You're seeing that. Pluto here doesn't ask for polite edits. It's demanding liberation. And liberation for you means no longer outsourcing your truth. Your truth is not going to be coming from someone else or some other system or somewhere else. This is what you're understanding. This is what this transit's about. It's going to come from you. You may feel untethered. You may grieve the comfort of conformity. You may even wonder if there's anything left to believe in at all. But my beautiful ones, don't panic. Don't panic in the unraveling. This is your soul remembering. This is exactly where you're supposed to be. Okay? You were never here to be converted. You were here to be consecrated. This transit will test every idea that was borrowed, every truth inherited without question, and awaken what was buried underneath, and your direct connection to the divine. I'll say that again. This transit will test every idea that was borrowed, every truth inherited without question, and awaken what was buried underneath. Your direct connection to the divine. That is what was buried underneath. You are no longer on the life or the timeline of seeking to belong. You are on the timeline of becoming the living embodiment of truth itself. So when the old frameworks start falling apart, when you stop relating to what once comforted you, don't try to rebuild the same tower. Remember, instead, plant a new garden. The temple now lives within you and your beliefs. They are no longer shackles. They are seeds, wild, uncontainable, and alive. Pluto in the ninth house says you were never lost. You were just walking a road that someone else paved. But now you're the map maker. And your voice, the one rising from the rubbles of false truth, is the doctrine. So please share in the comments. Let me know. What belief are you ready to bury? What soul truth are you resurrecting in its place? And please subscribe for the next house in this series, and never forget, you didn't come here to follow a path. You, my beautiful one, came here to forge it.